This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is President and CEO of Revival Gold, Mr. Hugh Agro. Hugh, how are you this morning?
Thanks for having me, Gerardo. Happy to be back.
It's a great time to catch up. The summer doldrums are behind us. It's still a tough market in the junior resource space, but you and I had talked privately off the air, and I'll say it on the air. I think Revival Gold is a model of how companies in the business, in the junior space right now, should be acting. You had some excellent news this morning, and you've been very busy despite the tough market, so I want to get into all of that. Let me start by congratulating you on this morning's news. You intersected 105 meters of 1.38 grams per ton gold. You also intersected 70 meters of 1.89 grams per ton gold at the Bear Track project. Now, it's really important for people to understand, because I can tell you when the news first hit, I had an email saying, yeah, well, this happened down at, 380 meters and 500 meters. And I had to point out to a couple of people that was intentional. The area that you drilled is actually right below the conceptual pit shell, which of course is going to add, hypothetically in a perfect world, to the existing resource. Let's talk about the news today. Hugh, give me the details.
Well, you're absolutely right. We were targeting extensions to the known resource, so working from the known resource out. And of course, the deposit at Bear Track is open along strike for about 5 kilometers and to the southwest, and it's open at depth. And so these first 3 holes out of a program, it'll probably be about 15 to 17 holes, were targeted to extend the resource and check the depth potential of the deposit. And sure enough, we hit very impressive widths of mineralization, importantly true widths of mineralization here that are well above mining widths and extents and super grades here, 2 to 3 times the cutoff grade, all within 50 to 130 meters of the current resource conceptual pit. So these are a big plus.
Now, you have 2 rigs turning. Is that correct, Hugh?
Correct. We've got 2 turning. We've got one right now in the Joss area, and the second in between Joss and the South Pit area. We've completed now a total of 9 holes. This release is on 3 of those holes. The others are in for assay and or QA/QC, and we'll have those results coming out in the coming weeks. And then the rest of the program, of course, over the coming months, up until probably we get the last results out in early next year as we continue the program.
Excellent. Now, I mentioned early on that you've been very busy behind the scenes, especially over the summertime. Another piece of news that I want to talk about from back in July, you actually expanded the land position at Bear Track and Arnett Creek. That's important because you're already working with an asset that has approximately 2 million ounces across all categories. The expansion of the land position, of course, is going to add to the blue sky exploration potential, obviously. Can you talk about the thinking there?
Yeah, I can now. It's been tough talking about it over the last year or so as we work to bring that land position together. And Gerardo, because you've been out to site a couple of times now, that we have a fabulous position there. But there were a couple of claims that we wanted to pick up. We wanted to be a little bit quiet about what we have at Arnett, not make too much noise about that, and get those claim positions in. We've now done that. One of them dates back to the original, the first governor of the state of Idaho, a gentleman by the name of Hugh. Very nice group of family members, but all located all over the country in the U.S., and we had to track them all down and organize the deal with them, and as well a neighboring plot of land, and then we did some additional staking, and we got all that done and announced over the summer and the quiet times, all for relatively good value. I think we've done a super job here. The team has done a super job here in consolidating this land position. We now have what works out to almost 12,000 acres across this belt of geology that is produced and or resulted in the discovery of greater than 3.5 million ounces to date.
Now, I mentioned the anchor, the resource base that you've already established at Bear Track. I've said that Arnett Creek provides the opportunity for possibly a game-changing scenario if you can make a significant discovery there. How much drilling will Arnett Creek see here in the coming months?
So we're planning to get in there, targeting to get in there for about 2,000 meters or up to 2,000 meters. It will be dependent on permitting. We submitted permit applications in October last year, went through public review in February. We're just kind of winding through the process to permit 52 drill pad locations across the branch of property at Arnett. As you may recall, we took about 100 rock samples on surface on the Arnett property last summer, and over a third of them are over a gram of ton on surface. So we're really excited to be getting in there, and there are lots of targets. Meanwhile, with these claims that we've picked up over the summer, we're pursuing a parallel permitting track on the patented ground. And one way or another, Jardo, we'll get in there and we'll get some drilling into the Arnett project this year. I can't say exactly whether we'll hit the target of 2,000 meters, but that's what we're aiming to do.
Fantastic. Now, I mentioned early on that Revival Gold should be a model for how junior companies should operate in the space. A large part of that is one, share structure. Two, the treasury. You've managed to be very responsible with shareholder money. What does your G&A budget look like at Revival? Can we talk about that a bit, Hugh? You
bet. So this is a team that's been through a few cycles, so we manage the company and the treasury prudently. We're all shareholders. Our interests are entirely aligned with our fellow shareholders. I myself have almost $2 million into the company, so I want to make sure that we spend the money that we have in this business well. And the current burn is running at about just over $100,000 a month. And beyond that, we've got our exploration and development budgets, and those are the kinds of things that we can tweak depending on how market conditions run. We don't have any long-term commitments that are onerous. We have a lot of flexibility around our deal with Yamana, which brought in the Bear Track property. In fact, all of our dollars are going into the ground. We don't have to pay any substantial sums to Yamana until year 7 of our earn-in agreement on Bear Track. And so that gives us a lot of flexibility with respect to our spend. And our G&A at the modest rate of about $100,000 a month is I think stands well relative to our peers. Well, the other thing that I think you and the company should be commended on is you continue to tell your story, Hugh. I know you'll be at the Precious Metal Summit in Beaver Creek, which I believe runs from September the 20th through the 22nd. And then I believe you're also at the Denver Gold Forum, which runs from the 23rd through the 26th in Colorado Springs. Am I right on both points there? Yeah, thanks for reminding your listeners of that. We're certainly not crimping on or skimping on our marketing spend. We've got a great story to tell. So we are attending the conferences, and I love chatting with folks. So if you're in New Orleans later this year or attending the Beaver Creek Conference or the Denver Gold Conference, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to meet up and meet in person with folks who are interested in our story. We've got a great story to tell, and it's one of those kind of stories that almost tells itself, but we've got to get out there and be on the road, beating the pavement to make sure people learn about Revival Gold and the Bear Track Arnett project. Lastly, Hugh, share structure and cash position. What did that look like here at the end of the last reporting period? So 42 million shares outstanding currently, and cash at the end of last reporting period, end of June, was 4.7 million. So we're in pretty good shape here, and we've got a number of warrants and options out there that would take us up to at most 55 million shares on a fully diluted basis, but a lot of those would, of course, generate cash proceeds to the company if exercised. So I think we're in pretty good shape here with our capital structure, and we'll aim to manage that. As you point out, it's a key differentiating feature. A company like Revival Gold with 2 million ounces in the ground, and the team we've got trading for the market cap we have. Doesn't take much for us to take off, given the tight capital structure.
You also have some very strong long-term supportive shareholders, including Orion. Can you talk a bit about the relationship there? Because I know they've been active, of course, knowing the cyclicality of the resource space, and they're some of the smartest money in the business. Can you talk about that relationship?
Sure. They bought 10% of our business for about 60 cents a share in about a year ago, just under a year ago. We've had a great relationship with Orion. There are no bells and whistles on that financing that they did with us. In fact, it's a partnership with an arrangement whereby we work with them on opportunities to continue to grow the business, and they are extremely smart. They've been very active in the market. They are selective in who they deal with. And we've got their full confidence. And I think for the retail shareholder who doesn't have the time and ability to do the kind of due diligence that the likes of Orion does, or yourself, Gerardo, I think it's a huge stamp of approval on our team and on our project and what we're doing. Our other shareholders are consist of some pretty quality institutions and high net worth individuals. There really only is about 20% of the shares or less in retail hands. We'd welcome having more folks of that nature involved in the company and riding along the good work and the good due diligence that the more sophisticated players in our space have done.
It's a tough market. We've said that 3 or 4 times during this interview, Hugh, but you've always been very, very good about using tough markets to buy right. I got to believe with those supportive shareholders that you're looking at projects and possibly looking at accretive opportunities. Would I be incorrect in saying that?
We are. It's definitely game on time for Revival Gold. We're a growth-focused company. There's some great opportunities out there, as you've said. And we're doing our homework. We'll act when we see something that makes sense for us and for our shareholders. And in the meantime, we're continuing to deliver value out of Bear Track Arnett. And we have quite an exciting fall season coming up here with the results from the drill program, with our met testing underway, and with the other actions in respect of Arnett that we've already discussed.
Fantastic. Hugh, thank you so much for the very thorough update, and we will catch up in Beaver Creek.
Okay, I'll look forward to that, Gerardo.
Thanks again, Hugh.